All right, welcome to the Murfreesboro City Council. It's our workshop here at the airport. It's July 10th. If you'll bow with me for a prayer, and then we'll stand up and say our pledge. Father, thank you for this day, this chance we have to be here, for the blessings that each of us have been afforded by you, and more importantly, the community that we live in. Lord, I thank you for this past Independence Day last week, for those people that serve our community, that have served our community, and the ability that we have to be here because of the independence that can only come from you. Lord, we love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one person on our public comment. If you'll come to the podium, Mr. Will Lehue, you have 3 minutes. If you'll direct all your comments to the council, we'll be happy to listen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I apologize for my appearance. I'm on my lunch break.
It's all right.
I spoke last month at the council meeting. I am here on behalf of the residents of the villages at Garrison Cove. We have, what I understand is, I've been there 5 years. I brought friends this time. There's several residents from the neighborhood here. We have, what I'm being told, is 20-plus year traffic issue. If you're not familiar, the villages of Garrison Cove is in northeastern Murfreesboro, and the main road is Aberdeen. You would see it on Lascassas Highway if you've ever been there. Aberdeen and Oak Hill that connects Patriot Drive to Lascassas Highway, right? So during the school year, as you can expect, it's kind of like Talladega. I have 3 children. There are, I'd say, probably upwards of 40 to 50 kids at any given point in the neighborhood playing. We've applied via the HOA for traffic calming, for speed bumps. For whatever reason, we don't meet the metrics. The main point I make is I have been in this neighborhood 5 years, and I have seen 2 overturned vehicles. I was a police officer for 14 years with the Sheriff's Department in this county, and I never once saw an overturned vehicle in a residential neighborhood. There's absolutely no reason for it other than recklessness and speed. I've also seen at least 4 to 6 mailboxes completely destroyed. I've seen a house struck by a drunk driver. The list goes on. We're just asking, if we don't meet the metrics for traffic calming, then we don't meet the metrics. That's fine. I understand bureaucracy. I understand red tape. As I said, I spent a lot of time working for the government. I get it. But we need something. Just because we don't meet the metrics for the traffic calming program doesn't mean that there isn't a need for intervention from the city. So whatever that looks like, you asked me what I thought the best option was at the last meeting, and I mentioned as far as cost effectiveness for the city and ease of just fixing the problem, maybe putting a barrier at Oak Hill and was it Patriot. Well, if you go down Oak Hill, right, before it gets into our neighborhood, there's older townhomes. There's a section of Oak Hill that is there. You could block it off right where the entrance. I went to high school at Oakland, and when they were building this neighborhood, you couldn't get through. It wasn't a pass-through. That to me seems like the best option. I've looked up several traffic devices. There's a company that makes their posts that go in the ground, and you can remove them, right? So we understand that the high school, the football program in Oakland is a big deal these days, and there's thousands of people at the games. So in the event that egress is needed from the games or whatever, they can be pulled up, right? Somebody from the city can come just pull them out of the way. That way cars can go out if it's a traffic issue. We just need something, whether it's Dave mentioned stop signs. The speed limit itself is 30 miles an hour. And Dave brought up an interesting point that the speed limit on Haynes Drive is 30 miles an hour. And there's not kids riding bicycles, on Haynes Drive typically. So we're willing to work with you guys. We're willing to, whatever we have to do, just let us know, and we will be more than happy to help. We just want some help from you.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to action items. You have wine sales certificate of compliance, Mid-10 tobacco, vape, and beer store.
Yes, this is a request for a wine sales certificate of compliance for sales of wine in a grocery store. The property is located at 710 Middle Tennessee Boulevard, Suite 10. The owner has met our requirements, and we recommend for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater? Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade? Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, we'll move to item 2, yard sale lease extension 204 South Front Street.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Here for a lease extension on the yard sale building. As you know, we purchased that Ransom Family Trust property a few months back. We extended yard sales lease. They've had trouble finding a place to relocate. The owner reached out, I think, Mayor, to you and then some of the staff members, and we reviewed the construction schedule with Town Creek with him and the complications of that. And he said that for now, he would be okay with understanding there'd be delays and interruptions because of that schedule, and asked if we would extend his lease, and so have the lease for you today. We'd recommend approval, and I'm ready to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris? Mr. Maxwell? Vice Mayor Shacklet? Mr. Wade? Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
All right, let's move to item 3, Communication Tower 3489 Hallsville Pike. This is an easement acquisition.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the fifth of our communication tower enhancements that we started several years ago for public safety. We ran into some complications with easement acquisition following the change of ownership. We've been working with the new owner, and we now have a formal offer of $96,724 for those easements, and we'd ask for permission to have administrative settlement opportunity with them, and then if we're unable to reach a settlement with them, we'd ask for approval to submit this to the court for condemnation. The funding for this would come from the communications tower allocations in the CIP. Available for any questions, and we recommend your approval.
Motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet? Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
All right, let's move to, thank you, Sam. Let's move to CIP transfers. Page 2 of the CIP transfer request was not included in the digital agenda, but a copy of the missing page was distributed, and it's on your desk for you. Do we have any questions on the CIP transfers? All right, seeing none, we'll move on from there. Item 5, Retail Liquor Store Certificate of Compliance Annual Report.
Yeah, I would recommend we move this to
Oh.
after other business.
I apologize.
No problem.
I see that now. All right, fiscal year 25 public records request. This is our annual report.
Yes, this outlines the public record requests for FY '25. Our new requests continue to increase each year, though the pace of the growth has slowed down in FY '25, thankfully. This is for information only. No action is needed. I do want to just remind y'all that Melanie and Raven successfully implemented the Just FOIA software program this year, which has really improved our efficiencies in responding to those public records requests, and also with coordinating with all the other departments that have to submit to those requests. Again, it's information only, no vote is needed.
All right, we'll move to item 7, Traffic Calming Program Update. Ms. Emerson. And Ms. Emerson, I don't want to interrupt you when you have your program, but can you give us, after your program, Mr. Leahy's talked to us a couple times, can you give us maybe some recommendations of what could happen on Oak Hill?
Lexi just pulled up my evaluation form from when we did that evaluation, and their 85 percentile speeds were 30, 31 miles an hour. So
Okay.
it's reckless driving, not so much speeding, I would think.
Okay.
So that's why they're not qualifying for the traffic calming program.
Okay. Is there an ability to, I don't want to say this is the council, but you can look at the older neighborhood that's on Patriot Drive, and then that where that cut through was connected to Villages of Garrison Cove. Is there a way we can update and look at that speeding metric to see if there is a way to look at speed cushions in those areas? Okay.
And if that doesn't work, is it feasible for us to make an exception? I mean, if they, I know you said they did not qualify, did not qualify a lot, one or two items, or?
I'll go over the matrix here in just a little bit.
Okay.
We'll be able to see all the things that we look at, and then we can look at the evaluation form.
We were just trying to do everything we could to get you off your game before you give your,
I appreciate that, because I'm so comfortable up here.
Chime in too, just so we can add to the fun, but in all seriousness, there was the neighborhood, I want to say, Sean helped me out here, they're wanting to stub out the road about a year ago.
Palmer Heights.
And we said no because of the increased traffic. So if there's a way to close that road or lower the speed limit, I think there's a way if there's legitimate concern by the HOA, even if they don't qualify.
Now, speed limit is set by city code, so that's, we can't reduce the speed limit. But we can.
Unless we change the city code.
Right. And then we have to evaluate all the roads to determine then and change all the signage and all of that. So it is a snowball just to change a speed limit. But anyway, thank you for having me. I'm here to update you.
wait before you get started. I'm just kidding.
I'm up here to update you on the traffic calming program. This program is all about listening and responding to the residents about their speeding concerns. And in the past few years, we've addressed these concerns on a data-driven approach. Today, I'm going to walk you through the steps and what we've accomplished to date. First, let's begin how the decision process is made when a request comes in. So first, we have to confirm whether the request meets some basic criteria. If it does, then we send that requester an application. An application requires a signature of the requester plus 2 other residents that live on that street. Once the application is returned, staff builds a petition package. And in that petition package is the petition form, a copy of the traffic calming manual, a map of the study area, and a list of names and addresses of the people in those addresses. The study area includes the road that's requesting the traffic calming, any roads that rely on that road as means of access, any roads that might see an increase of traffic because traffic calming was placed on that other road. The requester then has 90 days to return the petition with 30% signatures of all those property owners. The city will then collect data and use the evaluation form to determine whether the roadway qualifies for further action. If it scores a 40 or more, and I'll go over that evaluation form in just a minute, the request moves forward. Staff will then design a traffic calming plan, and then we'll notify the residents that live on that roadway where the traffic calming measures will be installed. And then after 90 days, we evaluate the roadway that the traffic calming measures were put on to see if it was effective. First, we're going to talk about speed cushions. These are those raised rubber things that we've all talked about already, and they're intended to slow the vehicles down. So far, we've installed them in 6 locations with a 7th location approved. We've seen an average decrease in speed of 14%, with Savannah Ridge having the most results, going from a 36 mile an hour speed to a 27 mile an hour speed. Another traffic calming measure we've implemented is these digital speed limit signs. These remind drivers of the posted speed limit and alert them when they're going too fast. They also collect the speed data on the cloud, so we're able to look back and pull history reports for these roadways that have these signs and see and keep monitoring them. As you can see, none of these roadways are now experiencing an excess of 4 miles over the 85%, the 85 percentile over 4 miles over the posted speed limit, so they would not trigger another traffic calming method. And so we're finding these to be an effective deterrent and a monitoring tool. So this is a quick breakdown of our requests to date. We've had 137 requests, and that number's a little low because I don't track the ones that are outside the city limits that we routinely get requests on. Of those 137, 12 did not meet the criteria, and so the 125 were sent petition packages, or sent applications. 43 of those applications were returned, and 17 of those 43 applications of the petitions were returned, and 7 have qualified for the traffic calming program. As I mentioned earlier, we have our evaluation form. The very first thing we look at is speed. So in order to qualify, your 85 percentile has to be a minimum of 4 miles over the posted speed limit. And if it makes that, then we also look at volumes. We look at crash history. We look at proximity to schools and public destinations, and then the sidewalks or lack of sidewalks. Then we do a score, and this scoring helps us prioritize where the traffic calming will have the greatest impact. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I have a question. So I received a call this week from a resident who lives on Warrior Drive, and the concern was speeding, reckless driving, just increased traffic, and they're saying it's getting worse with Costco. So we should direct them to this process.
Yes.
So going forward, when a constituent reaches out to us with these concerns.
Like I said, there are going to be qualifications because we don't do them on certain road classifications. So if it's a collector or arterial, or we won't put them on those kind of roadways because those are intended to move traffic. So they have to be the local roads. Speed limit has to be 30 miles or less. Or it has to be 30 miles. It has to be at least 1,000 feet long and not a cul-de-sac. So there are other requirements. So that's what, that very first, the data, the basic requirements, that before I'll even send them an application, we go through this. But by all means, just send them to me and I can determine whether they qualify to get an application or not.
Okay. That would be great.
One item I'd like to bring up is when these traffic calming devices are installed, they cannot be, those roads cannot be snow plowed. So during the winter, the snow plows cannot navigate over the bumps,
Cushions.
the cushions.
Yes. So if
So
it was
that's-
a road that was on the snow plowing list, it will no longer be on that list if we get the speed cushions put in.
Or just maybe this is just a question. Should we, if a resident, a new development neighborhood, if the developer decides that they want traffic cushions in their community, and that's something that they want to be able to advertise to say, hey, we've found that we like communities that have the calming measures because it slows down, it promotes protecting children in the streets. Do we care whether they do that or not? If they say, look, we're going to do it from the front end and we're going to pay for it?
Well, we have to get through the warranty period first, and so that would be one thing. We'd have to look at the timeline of having them installed because we don't accept, that's another thing, it's not a city road.
Well,
When it
what I'm
first-
saying though is, let's say the HOA came in, like in this case, say the HOA came in and they said, the majority of our residents want traffic cushions or the speed cushions in their neighborhood. The HOA says, we're going to pay for it. We're going to install them. We'll make sure the city checks with our installation process and that we meet that, but we're going to pay for it and we're going to install them. Does that matter to us?
No, we'll just be responsible for the maintenance of them in the future.
So like in Village of Garrison Cove, if whether it meets our requirements or not, if the HOA came through and said 90% of our homeowners have voted, we want these traffic cushions to be able to protect our neighborhood, we're going to pay for it. We're going to install those with your supervision to our guide, to your guidelines. Then, I mean, is there a reason why we wouldn't let, if an HOA wanted to do that, we could just say, okay, y'all pay for it. That's, if your residents want that, we're fine with it.
It would just be something else that we're responsible for the maintenance of, so.
Sure. Or, I mean, even what if we wrote it, the wrote it to where there's a process that you have to go through for the city to pay for it, but then there's a process that if the HOA wants to install and pay for it, you're responsible for installation, you're responsible for upkeep and maintenance, but we will allow you to put those in the public right of way if your community agrees with it. I go back that, and I say this, and this is not you, Michelle, because, people don't, a lady tagged me on Facebook the other day about street or traffic signals, and I'm like, thank you for the, maybe you should sit down with Ron Balachandra and let him explain to you what we're governed by on traffic signal timing. But like Greenville, South Carolina, most every single neighborhood that you go into in Greenville, they've got these speed cushions, and people accept them because it keeps traffic and speed down in their communities. What I'm saying, if an HOA wants to put them in, they pay for it, then rock on, go for it. If you think that's what your community wants. I mean,
I'm down with that.
I mean,
I agree.
what,
Michelle, are you done, Shane?
yeah. Well, I mean, how do we go about that process that maybe the council could decide if we want to do that or not?
And we can prepare, like we prepared the traffic calming manual to
Yeah.
begin with, prepare something to present and have y'all, because that's what we did for this traffic calming manual in the first place. And we went through a couple iterations on it. And then we did the Alexander test pilot program and learned from it and made some further adjustments to this manual. So, I mean, we could do something very similar for HOA and paid for program.
So the process, that's for like a city road. On a state road like Southeast Broad, Highway 41, that's a state road. Can't put speed bumps in.
The road classification.
Because of road
You're right. So they can't be classified as a community collector, a commercial collector, or arterial. And so all the state roads are going to be arterials.
What about those signs that you had pointed out that flash, I guess?
The digital
Speed
ones,
limit?
yes.
Digital ones. Can those be on certain roads like that?
Could we put that on Warrior Drive?
They could possibly go, because that's why we did them on Kingdom Drive, because it's a collector, it's a community collector, so it didn't qualify. So that's why we put this digital speed limit signs on that roadway.
Do you show any improvement?
Yes, ma'am. None of the roads that we have the digital speed limit signs have an 85 percentile that is over the 4 miles per hour threshold.
Have we tried that over at Mr. Leahy's area?
No, sir, we have not.
Because they have to do this process, right?
Right, and the digital speed limit signs are $5,500 apiece, and they have a $125 annual subscription to go with each sign.
That's 5,500 and then 125 annual subscription
$125 a month.
a month. Okay.
But we don't have any lying around. We order them as we need them. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, we have a couple in the shop, but they're permanently installed. These are not, now the police have like speed trailers that they put out. But these are permanently installed signs. So instead of having just your static speed limit sign, these go in instead of a static speed limit sign.
I see. I know the difference now. Thank you.
What's it cost to install speed bumps typically? Like the city goes out and says, hey, we're going to put in a series of,
So they are $825 a cushion. We typically put them in sets of 2 or 3, depending on the roadway width. So at each location, we're talking between $1,650 and $2,500. And then, there's more than one set along the roadway. So like on Alexander, I think there's 6 sets. On Savannah Ridge, I think there's 6 or 7 sets. So $2,500 times 6.
okay.
Savannah Ridge, Alexander Drive, some of the ones that although the Riverbend one now, we have people who signed the petition who are now asking if they can be removed from the petition.
Well, they are currently conducting their petition to not have them installed.
After they
petition
to have them installed.
to have them installed, they qualified, then a group of residents has reached out to me to conduct a petition to not have them installed. I reached out this week to find out where the status was, and they said that they have about half of the signatures, that it requires 50% of the signatures to have them removed. And he
Versus
says-
30, right?
Versus the 30 to get it studied. So just because you get your 30% doesn't mean you're getting them. That's for us to move forward to study this, to the roadway. And
You got to
so
get 50% to remove them.
50% if you want to have them removed.
Could you send us this, email this to us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I would like, if the council's okay, to come up with a program that if an HOA wants to bear the expense, they want to put them in the neighborhood regardless if it meets our standard. If the residents say, look, we want to do it, then, I mean, I think they should have the right to be able to put them in their neighborhood if they feel like it makes their neighborhood safer.
Now, we allow them on private roads, so like townhomes that have private roads, that they maintain their own roads. That's the biggest concern, is when we have to pave the road, then we would have to remove the speed cushions to pave the road.
We could put something in a, I mean, it's like decorative signage. If the neighborhood decides that they want decorative signage and it's a public road and that signage gets knocked down, if the HOA does not put up the decorative signage, which is much more expensive, they get a galvanized pole
So
put
that's
up.
what we could say. If it gets repaved, then the speed cushions come up and you'd have to reinstall them. if
You got to
want
put them back in. So, I mean, there's a way I think we could, if the cost is the issue, I think we could tell the HOA, hey, here's the process to go through if the city pays for it. Here's the process that goes through if you want to pay for it. The HOA still would have to sign off on it. They would have to be the ones to take the responsibility that the neighborhood wants them. But then they would have to, just like putting in a sidewalk, they would have to have the city inspect it as they're put down to make sure that they're put to city standards. And then once that's done,
And this would only qualify for subdivisions that do have HOAs,
correct,
because there are several that don't and that have not qualified.
correct.
So they just would not be able to get them. If they don't qualify, they still would not have the option to pay for
I
them
think that would be good
themselves.
for the taxpayer, because then the HOAs are paying for it, the city's not having to pay for it, if they want them. So,
That's fair.
all right. Any questions for Michelle?
Can't think of anything else. I know how much she's enjoying us asking all this.
It's exactly what any engineer likes, is to come into the podium and talking to the council, all right?
Love it.
Right answer.
All right, let's move to item 8, hangar design work authorization. Chad?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I am bringing to you for your approval today a request for hangar design that will be conducted by Barge Design Solutions, our aviation airport consultant. Just wanted to go over a little bit of history here, because it has been several years that this day has come to be in the making. In 1998, we converted around 55 acres of park and recreation property to the airport, and that included some real key items at the end of the runway, and then what was the old Murfreesboro Soccer Club fields. In 2021, the airport then was able to clear a lot of that land on the north end of the airport and secure the entire airport with fencing. In 2015, with a $5 million state grant, the airport extended the runway and built Taxiway Echo in preparation for future development, even though we really didn't have at that time a customer in that area. But it was at least a chance for us to try to break into that area for future development. In 2018, the privately built TDK hangar was under construction, providing a home for their company's flight department. And this also created a permanent home for Vanderbilt Life Flight Base Station 5, who has been serving Murfreesboro now for several years. In the meantime, we've been continuing to build out everything on the south end of the airport. And then by 2023, we were able to completely redo the terminal area with the new terminal, take out the old Quonset hut, and prepare the large hangar, which was an economic development project for Mike Jones, who's now employed almost 30 employees. Also, the airport sold, so Parks and Recreation did an additional 5 acres down here on the west end of the airport, adjacent to that, the old soccer fields. And the airport also sold 1.62 acres of property, which the revenue was used to for future development then of the area in the old soccer fields. So this is the area that we're looking at for development here, and kind of approaching it. Right now, we've got bids coming open in 2 weeks for stormwater. The good thing about the old soccer fields is they're flat, and the bad thing is they're flat. So we're going to spend quite a bit of money putting in stormwater and extending some utilities. So this summer and fall, that work will be done. This is what the ultimate development of this area could look like. This could all change, but it's kind of anywhere there's a road, we have some commercial development. We've kind of left this area down here blank with MTSU as they go through their relocation, and we'll see what in the future lies there as far as probably more commercial type development as compared to a single type renting a hangar to a single aircraft owner. This is phase 1 of the development. This is the area that we will be concentrating on this summer and fall, where we'll be bringing in the stormwater system and extending utilities and creating the pads, just the flat areas for these hangars. So the focus right now is for the designing of a hangar. The construction is of a 150 by 100 foot hangar with possibly a 20-foot high clear hangar door and 3,000 square feet of office space. The purpose is to attract highly skilled jobs, pilots, mechanics, technicians, dispatchers, administration, finance positions. And this would create new opportunities of services for the community, such as aircraft charter services, also create some new revenue sources, diversifying our airport revenue sources for the airport fund, and continue to maintain our role as an economic asset to the community. So how are we going to fund this? The funding plan is to use airport fund balance and general fund right off the bat. We're looking at a $5 million estimate for this construction of this facility. $298,000 is the cost of the design work, which is part of that $5 million. So in this case, the general fund's current subsidy to the airport revenues will not be needed, resulting in a general fund recovery in the next 10 years. The airport will use rent and fuel sales revenue to build back the airport fund. And I think the spreadsheets that we have between the rent and the fuel sales are pretty conservative, and I think the airport fund will do quite well to get this paid back and build that fund back up. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them at this time.
Chad, does the monthly rent have about a $4,000 gap to where essentially, I guess, and I talked with Darren about this, has the potential tenant agreed to, I guess, pay us more in rent, or are we still going to?
We're still in negotiations on that, so it was really a combination of a minimum fuel usage or requirement along with rent. To the other end of the stick is just pay rent to cover this debt and get us so we can recover this debt in less than the initial term of the lease agreement.
Yeah.
So that was a minimum of fuel requirement, and it was, the way I was looking at it is that was minimum, and we should receive more funds off of that from just fuel sales. So there's a positive at the end of that formula.
Is there a gap?
At one end there is, at the other end there isn't. So we're playing it with fuel.
The scenario I ran through with council was really maybe not the best scenario to run through. The scenario I ran with you all was more like we were lending the airport the money as a bank would lend through a loan and charge interest on that loan over the entire $5 million. So the fact that they're actually putting in $2.1 million from 2.145 from the airport fund balance. So our starting point's not at $5 million; it's at 2.8. What the general fund would provide, and it's through our fund balance, so it's cash. If you go to that next slide, what we currently do annually is we do provide a subsidization to the airport fund of the $230,000. Aaron went through it and assumed about a 4% escalator of what we would continue to subsidize. In effect, what we would not be doing over the next 10 years is subsidizing the airport anymore. So that money would stay with the city. That would recoup basically the money that we put in as cash. So we're not acting as the bank now, and we're not charging interest. We're basically giving them cash, and we're just not subsidizing them over the next 10 years to recoup that money, if that makes more sense. So there's really anything that they make beyond the $230,000, they've got to make that up in their rent, plus anything extra just stays with them. So, I mean, I know it's a little bit of a reverse of what I kind of talked with you about, Councilman. Anything to add, Aaron?
So are we
You
looking,
covered that very well. Thank you.
are we looking at a 10-year payback?
Essentially, assuming that the general fund was going to continue to subsidize airport over the next 10 or 12 years, funding, the director's salary and a couple of other things through that. I just assumed a 4% escalator each year on that based on pay raises and other increases. But, the anticipated revenues off of any hangar rents and fuel sales would negate the need for that subsidy from general fund at that point.
I'm just saying, if you go back to the previous slide, Chad, we're saying that the rents that possibly would be collected for building something like this, that we would be looking at about a 10 to 11-year payback. Does that sound right?
Are you talking about for the full $5 million?
No, for the initial
The
fund,
general
the
fund?
general fund would have to put in.
It's 10, the next slide is 10.5, assuming that
Yeah.
4% escalator.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're no longer quote the bank.
Yeah, we're no longer paying for Chad's salary and those other elements that the general fund is currently funding.
So to build this, it's coming out of,
Roughly 40%, I don't know what the percentage is, but 2.1 is coming from their fund balance, the airport's fund balance, and then 2.8 is coming out of the city's fund balance in cash. And we pay ourselves back by not paying.
but is the proposed tenant still paying, I guess? I hate to use the word gap, but I seem to recall it was like I said,
There-
at a minimum, it needs to be this much a month. That way there's not a gap.
Yeah, if you looked at it from a conventional loan, I think the deal on the table was they were looking at roughly $22,000 a month lease. It did not show a positive net cash flow if you treated it like a bank loan of $5 million. I think we did 3 or 4% interest. It needed to get to about a $26,000 per month in order to show a net positive cash flow. But again, we're not really being the bank here, and we're not really, we're not funding the full $5 million from the city's coffers or the general fund.
With airport fund getting the RPZ grant back from the state to reimburse them for several property purchases they made out of their fund balance, that's where the majority of that 2.145 from the airport fund balance is coming from.
That was the
And that was the intention when we sold that land for Whataburger, was for future airport development for those funds. It was just unfortunate we hit a snag there for a little while where the grants dried up on the RPZ property purchases that we didn't anticipate. But then Chad was able to secure that $4 million grant that we expect to get. I think the governor's already signed it. We expect to get the paperwork in the next month or two.
We actually received that today for that
Oh.
grant process, so you'll be signing that probably at the next council meeting.
The other part, I don't think in what you had sent out is, well, we figured what the lease payment would be if this were leased. We figured out what fuel cells were going to be, but there was really not an indirect cost on figuring what the employees that would be brought in, sales tax on all the charter revenue that would be coming in. I mean,
Right.
so there is some numbers that we
didn't do a full economic impact assessment, no.
Yeah.
But yes, there will be a positive economic impact with the, like you said, the salaries, the employees, and those folks purchasing things and creating business around the airport.
Any other questions?
So this item, we are needing a vote, correct?
Yes, we're asking for the $298,000 for the design today.
Anything else will have to come back to us.
The bid for the construction of the hangar will have to come back, and any type of, I'm assuming any type of lease agreement would have to come back to you all as well.
So this is just to design the hangar.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm pro hangar, I'm anti $4,000 gaps.
Is that a motion?
Second.
Motion, have a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Overwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes to build the hangar.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright? Mayor McFarland?
Aye, all right, let's move. Thank you very much, Chad. We have no boarding commission appointments, and then we have beer permits. Or we had the dashboard. Does anybody have any questions on the dashboard? Okay. All right, let's move to beer permits.
Okay, we have 3 regular permits for consideration. One is for a new hotel located at 175 Chafin Place, and another is for a new hotel located at 165 Chafin Place. And we have a new grocery market located at 2135 Manchester Pike. We also have a special event beer permit for Main Street of Murfreesboro for their annual fundraiser, which will be held on July 19th at 900 North Manny Avenue. All applicants have met our requirements, and we recommend for approval pending any final building and codes inspections.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Overwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell? Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright? Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, let's move to item 11 under other business. Ordinance 25026, retail liquor certificate of compliance, term expiration. This is first reading.
Yes, we're proposing a revision to Section 48D of the Retail Liquor City Code Ordinance to extend the expiration date for certificates that were issued, but where the certificate holders have not applied for a license by the state's Alcoholic Beverage Commission. Currently, the certificates were set to expire on June 30, 2025. However, due to the delay in approval of this ordinance until April, I think it's appropriate to extend this expiration date from June 30, 2025 to 2026. If approved, we'll reach out to those current unlicensed certificate holders and let them know that they have until June 30, 2026 to comply with the provision regarding application from the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission. We do have 6 certificates outstanding as of June 30 that have not yet opened stores. 1 is under construction, 2 are undergoing location changes and are updating their license with the state once those location changes take place. And then the other 3, we're not aware of what their situation is, but they'll certainly be notified that they have until June 30 to get that application process started with the state. I'm happy to answer any questions and recommend for approval.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Overwater?
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris? Mr. Maxwell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright? Mayor McFarland?
All right, you have item 5 that was moved from workshop items, retail liquor store certificate of compliance annual report.
Yes, this is our annual report to council determining the estimated population and whether a new liquor store certificate of compliance should be made available. This year's population increased from 165,430 to 168,387. So based on these results, we are not due to increase our number of certificates of compliance for retail liquor stores. So no vote is needed or further action.
All right, no action items. Any other business from staff? Any other business from the council? We do have a meeting the 17th. We'll be off the 24th, and we have a meeting on the 31st. All right, seeing no other business, we'll stand adjourned.